ever dream about working from a tropical paradise island while drinking delicious cocktails, having all this gorgeous view from your window and making a lot of money by doing what you love? Our special guest today will give you a practical step-by-step guide to achieve just that. He will share his secrets to land that perfect job. Hi everyone, I'm Svetlin and I'm the founder of the Tech Satirist. Today my special guest is Jordan Strashov. Jordan made his dreams come true by landing the perfect job that allows him to work from a very innovative European-based tech company from the island of Bali. How cool is that? But let's ask him. Will you tell us for which company do you work?
Right now I'm working for a Danish startup called Labster. We're making virtual reality simulations for educational purposes. Our main goal is to provide students with better ways and more accessible ways for education in the field of chemistry, biology. The main goal is to get out of the conventional sense for education, where things are kind of boring and slow. The idea is to put a gamification element in each simulation, and by the way, those simulations are 100% accurate with the real things like equipment, like the results from those chemical experiments and things like that.
Which product you're currently working on?
So right now I'm working on a product that is aiming actually not the students but their lecturers. The idea is to make some kind of an editor that will help the professors to super quickly mix and make simulations for the particular and specific purposes of the course materials.
Yeah. And what are your main responsibilities?
My main responsibilities are to develop the product and to keep it out of any bugs, any problems, and to also foresee future ways to make it more durable, make it more efficient, constantly getting feedback from our testers.
Please describe one typical day in the office back in Bali, from the early morning to the late night.
Okay, Svetlo. So usually the day starts with the fresh fruits for breakfast, then we work until lunch, and usually in the afternoon, depending on the day of the week, we do different sports like soccer, badminton. Sometimes we just go to the gym. After that we are again working until late evening, and usually after that we're having a beer or playing games and things like that. And in the weekends we are usually exploring, because the nature in Indonesia is just unique. There's always something that you can see. There's always some events that you can attend and things like that. So Bali is everything but boring, believe me.
Let's find out how we managed to get that dream job. But let's start from the very beginning. Could you tell us what were you doing before applying for the current position?
So before joining Labster, I was making games. I was a game developer and I was doing a project on my own.
Was there a particular event that pushed you to search for something new, to start looking for a new opportunity, to start looking for a job maybe?
Well, Svetlo, it wasn't one particular event. It was a thing that slowly grew up in my head. Because the project that I did, it took a lot of effort and time, but in general, making games is super fun. Making games is challenging, interesting, but the market is super competitive. So my project turned out to be not that successful that I expected to be, and slowly in time I realized that I need to get a job, because I was running low on money, of course. And I didn't want to get back to the whole 9 to 6 schedule and working from ordinary office with the same people every day and things like that. So that's basically the reason that I started to look for a job, but not like every other job.
Now, could you tell us how you get the knowledge you have?
So I think it all started 4 years ago. I was working as support, server support, but what I really wanted to do was actually coding. And what I did back then is I started learning C# and Visual Studio in general, the .NET platform. And after work, weekends, I was just doing small projects just to get to know the basics. Then I started to read books like C# basics and things like that. But it wasn't long time after that I realized that I need to do a project. I need to do something that's going to push me to learn new things, not just read books and watch videos. By the way, there's a lot of video materials on YouTube, of course. But you just gotta do something.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did is, from day one, I knew that I want to be a game developer. I want to make games because that is the dream of every little boy.
Mm-hmm.
So I started making a super dumb game with I think it was one ball that was bouncing around and things like that. But after a few months, I was done with it. It was made for Windows Phone, and I published it, and it wasn't a success again. But that helped me get a job as a junior developer. I became a bit more proficient, and I decided to certify with the Microsoft program.
Mm-hmm.
Because no matter what language you're using, you are only fighting problems that are specific for the product you're developing, and that actually narrows you down. What you need to do is read books and take courses, because that's gonna widen your horizons. Again, because you're not gonna fight and deal with specific problems. So what I did was certified as a C# professional by the Microsoft certification program, and that gave me a lot, because for most of the companies that's important.
Mm-hmm.
That shows that you are persistent. So I recommend that to everybody. And after that, I can say it's history from then on, because I became proficient enough to read courses. I became proficient enough to make the decision to quit job and do something on my own. I started to improve myself, not only technologically but processes wise. By that I mean I started to read and educate myself on things like Scrum, Agile, Kanban, everything that I was missing or was not that good at it, or didn't have that much experience.
Okay, so you definitely had some struggles, but what was the first thing you did in order to improve your current situation?
So I decided to search for something that is going to challenge me, something that is going to force me to meet new people, to force me to get out of the comfort zone, which is a thing that I recommend to everybody. Just if something feels uncomfortable, that means you gotta do it. Well, the first thing that I did was do a small research, because I'm really good at the game engine called Unity 3D, and it's kind of specific thing. So what I realized back then is that I don't need to necessarily look at the conventional, most common sites for jobs. I need to find something specific. I need to find something that people can value my skills. So I went to a site called Unity Connect. The idea there is to connect employers with potential employees for a long-term relationship or for a short-term project. The best thing about Unity Connect is that you fill out your profile with super specific things like the projects you worked on, the technologies involved there, the experience, the challenges that you had to overcome, and things like that. So that is the site. It's called Unity Connect, and what you do here is register your, of course, name, your educational background, your projects, your skills, like list of languages that you are proficient in, and after that you can go to projects or jobs, and let's start with the projects.
Okay.
Projects are different projects posted by other indie companies or big companies. The idea is that, let's say you're making something and you're looking for particular people with specific profile. You just post your project, every detail about it, and then different developers can actually contact you, or you can contact them. The idea is to, in a way, cut the middleman and just directly speak with the developers. Another channel to get offered or get invited a position is throughout messaging. You simply choose a company, choose a project, and message them. You can also get messaged by a company. It's a super huge network. You can be a developer, you can be an artist, you can be a game designer. Any way you can contribute to a project, you just need to register that. It's super important to enter the projects that you took part in or did by yourself, and do as many details as you can technologically wise. Just don't lose time in unimportant things like this was meant to be played by this and this and this. For the big projects like Andromeda and Rage War, I was just part of the team. For a smaller projects like Drone Battles, I was doing all the things necessary. Like I was managing the art, I was managing the sounds, I was coding the solution. And although it didn't work out as a project, it gave me a lot of experience in the other sectors, because making a product like the one we are making right now requires a lot of people from different areas. Scientific people, technological people like me, artists, game designers. You got to be able to speak fluently with that. This is the thing that I can recommend to everybody. You just gotta go and do something on your own, because one of the reasons I got offered that job was indeed my previous experience as entrepreneur, as somebody who was doing everything, not just a small specific part of the product. That gives you an overview, that gives you a way of thinking, how you can better improve the product, how you can better improve the company in every way you can. Another super important thing is to make your profile really detailed. And one of my advices will be, if you are entering a project, the harsh truth is that people are rarely interested in what was the game about, or the product in general. They are interested in what technologies were used, what challenges you had to overcome, and how you did it. Because the knowledge you have right now at the stage of interviewing is not that important as your ability to learn new things, because there is always something that you need to overcome, something that you need to make a workaround. Actually, the company that I started working for, they weren't looking for a guy that knows that, that, and that. They were just looking for a guy that's eager to learn new things.
What did you do next?
Well, it wasn't long time after that again I realized I need to do something different, and what I did was I looked at the most viewed profiles, I looked at the best, and tried to see the things that I don't have and they have. And actually, there's one common thing between all guys in all tech guys, and that is that we are in a way introverted. We're not that social, and again, that's something out of my comfort zone. So I just dived into it. I started going out to events. I started socializing. I started connecting with people that are not only tech guys. And that gave me a lot. Actually, before receiving an offer, I was already discussing like 3 or 5 potential another projects with friends, projects that came out of nothing, like a beer or two, and things like that. So my general advice is, while waiting for an offer or sending CVs or doing things like that, you need to use that time to improve yourself in any way possible, not just technologically wise, anything that you need to that you feel you need to improve, because again, people are not necessarily looking for your knowledge right now, they're looking for your way of thinking.
Okay, great. And then you got an invitation for a job from Lobster.
Yes.
And what happened next?
So, using the Unity Connect platform, Lobster contacted me using the messaging system, and the initial step, the first step was to set up a short call just to get to know each other, because everybody, I mean, as an advice, you have to always be aware that it's a two-way process. So it's important for them to get to know you and you to get to know them. And that was the first time I was introduced with the goal, with the ambition of the company, because above all, Lobster is trying to help education. It's trying to really make an impact, because VR-based education is, well, at least for me, it's the future, and it makes things way more accessible, it makes things more easy. So after a short call of something like 10 minutes, I was already sold. I wanted to get that job even more, but I had to act chill, you know, as usual. And after that, for them, it was important to see the way I think. There wasn't any talk about technologies or tests or anything like that. It was just, I'm this guy doing this, and this, and they are that company called Lobster, located in Denmark. And actually, at the first call, I was asked, I think 1 or 2 times, is it okay to relocate for a certain period of time to Bali? And sure, I was like welcoming that idea, but
why not?
Yeah, I think sure, you know, sure. But they're obliged to ask that, because, as I said earlier, most of the developers are kind of introverts, and they don't always welcome the idea of relocating and going at the other end of the world. But for me, that was a big plus. So after that, I was invited to make an online test. I was given the challenge to solve coding tasks, to find problems with some piece of code, or to just finish a certain method that was supposed to do something, and it was time limited. And honestly, for me, it was super hard. But I've managed to get decent results. I honestly I wasn't happy with my results. If I had more time, I was going to be able to do more, but it turned out to be enough for them to move on with the next step. I'm not gonna fall into super language specific details, but the one test was about one or two methods being called, and in general a piece of code that was supposed to have a certain behavior, and I was expected to make it work in that way, or to find an error, or to or the that piece of code was working but was not providing the right output, and I need to find the problem with it. So basically, it was really, really close to what your day-to-day activities will be, because last year I'm working on a really big, huge project that is combining few things, and usually you're stumbling upon old code or new code or things that are already made and need to be improved, or need to find an error or something that is not as it's supposed to be. So basically, they are kind of mimicking the task that I'm going to be solving anyway. And the next step, that's actually the third step, was to make a interview in the conventional sense with somebody from the technological world. And I had an interview with two guys, two super chill and cool guys. We were talking not only technologically, but again, what are my plans in future, their plans. It wasn't, the whole feeling of the interview was not of them examining me. It was, how can I contribute to their work? Your internal way of approaching every interview should be, how can I help them? How can I contribute to their product? Because this is what they're looking for. They're not looking for a genius guy. They're looking for somebody that really likes what they're doing. Because I'm not a huge fan of Steve Jobs, but he says that you gotta love what you do, because then you're gonna be not that logical and not that ready to work hours and hours and hours. You'll be more sane. So they gave me like 4 or 5 questions actually, and I wasn't able to answer like 2 of them. Yeah, and actually at the end they asked me, okay, do you have any questions? And I told them, okay, can you tell me the answer of the first one that I wasn't able to get right? And they actually was happy about that, because I was really curious, what was that? Don't be afraid to say, I have no idea, I don't know what is that, because sometimes people are not okay with just saying, I don't know. They just want to say something, and usually that makes things worse. You just need to say, I don't know, I have no idea, I've never done that, because you're not expected to know everything.
Yeah, of course. And when you are honest, this will be at least some advantage at the end.
Absolutely, because if you say something that you think is right and it's wrong, I think that's worse. I think that's way more worse than just, I don't know that, I'm gonna Google it. That's it. after that, I waited, I think, like 1 week. I'm not really sure. And then I was contacted again by the HR, and they told me that they're going to do another interview, but this time it's going to be with the CTO of the company. And I was expecting to be another technological, or at least a big technological, but it turned out to be a super chill conversation with the CTO, because again, it's super important the way you think, the profile they're looking for, because my previous experience as an independent developer gave me knowledge of how to work remotely. Because most of the people think that remote work is super good, you can do whatever you want, you can work from a coffee, you can work from beach and things like that, but actually it forces you to be more disciplined. It forces you, there isn't anybody next to you saying, you gotta work, man, stop scrolling Facebook and things like that. So he was really happy about it, because he asked me, okay, working remote is really good, but it's still good. What was the best thing? What's the worst thing? And I told him, okay, the worst thing is that you work alone. The worst thing is that you need to discipline yourself, because you can lay in the bed until 10 a.m., but that's not going to help you. And actually, it turned out that he has similar experience with the remote work, and we ended up having a really nice conversation. And I had to wait another, I think, week or two, and then I got a last call with HR offering me the position.
And when you received that call with the good news that you're hired, what did you do? Did you celebrate? Did you get drunk? Did you start reading in order to be more prepared for the new job?
Well, I was super happy when I got offered the job, and actually I was excited, but I didn't party that much, because I knew I'm up for a huge challenge, because Lobster is hiring people from all around the world, and as I told you earlier, they're looking for a specific way of thinking, and I had to get on the books right away, while arranging my visa, while arranging the accommodation there, because one of the good things about Lobster is that they're taking care of everything there: food, accommodation, everything.
Nice.
You just need to work, and have some fun, of course. So in the meantime, I was learning everything I can, and as an advice that I can give is, once you get offered a job, in the meantime, before you actually start working, ask them for the whole technological package of things that you need to know prior going there, because rarely you know everything that's needed, and most of the time you don't know everything. So just ask them to give you as much as information they can, because throughout the whole interview process you're only given bits of the whole picture because of confidential reasons and things like that. So after I got offered, I just started learning and learning and learning. Actually, Lobster is super understanding when it comes to the need of learning new things. They will give you time, but you need to be as prepared as possible.
Cool. Your final advice to our audience?
My final advice will be, first, don't be afraid to get good at something that's not common and well known, because there's companies all over the world, and for sure somebody will need your particular skills. So don't be afraid to get good at something specific and be unique. Always support the community. If you can help, do it. And of course, be a tech satirist.
Guys, don't forget that $5 of each purchased garment will be donated for the translation of Khan Academy into more languages. See you soon in the next how to get your dream job in tech video. But in the meantime, for more relevant information, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest or Tumblr. Bye!